Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban.
As I just open my mic in-game. So delighted to be with you guys here. It is MRP on behalf of BTS on this 30th of November. And as we enter the December month, both of these teams looking to grant themselves a early Christmas present. This would be, you know, a fantastic boost for either side here, as 1 million USD on the line at this major. Winner of this series does move on to the major to join the likes of Virtus Pro, Liquid, EG, OG, LFY, teams of this caliber. Implication as I turn my Dota sounds back on. And would be nice for both of these teams to be able to make it through. So Wyvern, no real surprise coming up from Sacred. That has been, you know, a tier 1 hero, bar none here, as of recent times. And of course, Crit predicted it at TI7 XD. And not only, speaking of TI, is this major, you know, a ticket to this major a big deal, but 1,500 pro circuit points on the line at Galaxy Battles as well. So, you know, could be the first kind of step towards maybe a TI berth for one of these South American teams as well. So very, very important game here.
Team ban. Radiant team ban.
You know, I have to be honest, in the last 4 or so months of me casting South American Dota, I have never seen a lobby fill so quickly with all 10 players. So very kind of evident here how much.
10 seconds remaining.
Hope you guys are enjoying your week thus far. Tomorrow is Friday, of course, and the 1st of December, so not a bad way to wake up. Batrider, Storm Spirit bans coming out from paiN. Sacred have run a good amount of Storm Spirit. And Ancient Apparition, pretty damn good against the opening of Sacred here. Both against the Cogs and the Cold Embrace, Ice Blast can offer a lot. Similarly, Cold Feet can do the same, and Icy Vortex, drop it on the ground, benefit from that amplified damage a little bit. So Ancient Apparition, a really nice tool for paiN Gaming to have early on against the opening of Sacred. Queen of paiN ban going to come out from paiN's side. Anti-Mage and Tidehunter are removed from the pool by King Tekka.
10 seconds remaining.
Definitely some potential for Juggernaut for Sacred side. They have run it a lot, and they pick it later on into the draft, but it just seems like something that they lean on in general. So kind of keeping with the theme of the AA and fighting against these, you know, at times immobile heroes with, you know, Clockwork potentially stuck in his own cogs, stuck in quotations, allied heroes by the Wyvern being put under, so to speak. The Arrow certainly nice to have. against that combination. Mirana, somewhat of a flex pick as well for King RD here, as he could take her to the off lane. Ancient Apparition, Ogre Magi, two pretty capable members of an aggressive lane if they opt for that sort of configuration. And of course, Mirana, mid and safe lane, also possibilities for her. So kind of sticking with versatility, it seems, King RD thus far. Again, an affair of Peru versus Brazil in this South American region. Sacred bearing Peruvian flag, with paiN bearing the Brazilian one.
Radiant team pick.
Shadow Fiend.
All right, this is a treat. SF going to be picked up here by, and Leo Style has been target banned to some extent with the Queen of paiN and the Storm Spirit coming out from paiN. We'll see, how he can get off with the Shadow Fiend, although this is a pretty early pick. Of course, there is, the cogs, early cogs, extra souls for the Shadow Fiend on his way to lane. So something to mention. So perhaps why Sacred is prioritizing this so early, trying to give Leo Style a good lane. There was some sort of change to cogs, though, I feel, especially denying cogs recently. I can't remember exactly what that was. But yeah, let's...
Dire team pick.
Brewmaster.
So an absolute wealth of talent awaiting either of these teams, the winner of this series,
5 seconds remaining.
in the Galaxy Battles Land final. Brewmaster going to come out from paiN. This has been another kind of tier 2, on the cusp of tier 1 hero recently in competitive Dota. And it is one of those heroes, I mentioned earlier, Earthshaker not being a great offlaner because of his inability to kind of pressure the safe lane, or at least survive under the wave and try and, dissuade or denial attempts. Brewmaster can do that with Drunken Haze early on, especially if he has an Ogre nearby. Pretty darn good against the Clockwork as well. Being able to throw him up into the air. We'll see if they can kind of fix the issue of scale with this 5th pick for paiN. Does seem like what they're lacking at this point. In the early mid game, they do have more than enough damage with this, these 4 opening heroes, but as the game drags on, if it does, right now that seems like a bit of an issue for them.
Radiant team.
So a couple more cores to come out for Sacred, as the Weaver is going to be the pickup here, and certainly does seem like the Weaver slated to have a great game thus far. Very little that an Ogre and an Ancient Apparition can do to pressure a Weaver early on, so they can put him safe lane or off lane, in my opinion. And we'll see which route they opt to take. But certainly very difficult to kill as it stands. You may even see paiN Gaming look at something like a CK or Sven here in the 5th slot just to provide themselves with a little extra lockdown. But it does seem like, Benjaz, if he picks this up, should be slated to have a good game. Some awesome names these players have in this series, and I will be certain to rhyme off the 5 members of the winning team at the end of it.
Dire team ban.
Things looking smooth as far as the stream goes now. Please let me know, guys, if any issues audio-wise, frames dropping. You can always just tweet at me or drop it in Twitch chat. I'll try and periodically check that. Earthshaker is what I talked about for Sacred early on. They do value the hero still as a support. is really nice. When you have a hero like a Weaver, it just takes that split second of almost, you know, uninterruptible counter initiation with the Fisher, being, you know, many thousand units away. Just being able to throw that Fisher and give the Weaver a split second to either Shikuchi or time lapse, and he should be more than safe to continue fighting. So I like that Ben from paiN. It shows both recognition of the enemy's hero pool and kind of how their lineup works. Also really nice against the Brewmaster, just have that point-click instant stun. With the Echo Slam, maybe be able to burst him down. It is going to be the Legion Commander from Sacred. So again, to me, this does feel like an exploitation of a lack of hard disable from paiN's side. With Press the Attack, you know, any threat of having Cold Feet proc or it being killed off by Ignite is pretty much nullified with the Press the Attack. So in lane, it does feel like this Legion Commander should have a good time for King Tekka. And similarly, Weaver throughout the game going to be very hard to kill for Sacred. Although, you know, there is something to be said about paiN Gaming certainly have a wealth of those. Whereas I haven't seen Sacred run the Weaver and the Shadow Fiend too often, but again, there's the Cogs play early on for the Shadow Fiend. Weaver seems like he's slated to have a great game in this one. All right, so paiN gonna end up picking the Morphling here. I switch my overlay over, and it does provide them a little bit more lockdown, although not the most reliable for HFN. There is a good amount of physical damage as well for the Morphling, at least early on. Shadow Fiend pretty good to have, although Leo style should be fairly static in lane. But HFN, I mean, this is a hero with kind of low range early on. And so that indicates to me that Duster and Gambling, Gambling was, or once tagged up as Gambling, now just kind of boxes, that they may have to stay and park themselves top lane. And, you know, it's not that I'm insanely worried about that, but Leo style with the early cogs and no help in the mid lane for the Mirana, he should feast, I feel. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But HFN, you know, this Morphling hero, he's pretty darn good when he's got two supports nearby, but and is almost impossible to kill. But, you know, all by his lonesome can kind of be pressured, not necessarily killed, but at least pressured. And we will see the good old cog play coming out for Leo style and Matthew. And maybe we see some aggression, you know, in light of the fact that they know that this cogs business is going on. And that it does require 3 heroes. So smoke movement from paiN up on the high ground. Yeah, they are going to look to wrap around too. Benjaz should be safe here, but yeah, Masoku, I don't think we can say the same. Killing Chuck, she's going to fly out. He's going to try an Arctic Burn over the trees. He's actually going to avoid the arrow, but he does get caught by the Fire Blast and the Thunderclap. And as he flies up to the high ground, an arrow will follow. And King RD will get himself the first blood in this grand finals. Now, to some extent, a little bit odd for Sacred to bring the Wyvern here, knowing that the enemy knows they need to kind of take advantage of this kind of cogs play. And Twitch just sent me a notification Day 9 is streaming a VOD of some sort. Thank you, Twitch. Slightly, hopefully you guys still hear them fairly well.
This will do nicely.
As it is going to be actually King Tekka taking up towards the safe lane right now. So we did see the Weaver here early on Benjaz, but wasn't entirely sure he was going to go aggressive, and that does seem to be the case. Although paiN have reacted kind of accordingly here with their Brewmaster solo bottom. So they're still trying to get the desired lanes where the Morphling and his supports up against the Legion. Leo style early on, 17 souls in his back pocket. And already having a good time. This is going to get caught with the arrow. Fire Blast is there as well, but without the ignite, damage over time feels, you know, largely unkillable in this lane. Could be where a lot of the action is happening early on is top lane. Masoku going to join up with King Tekka. In fact, they're going to leave the Weaver 1v1 against the Brewmaster for Tavo. So this should mean that Tavo has a really good time early on, and it could mean that Benjaz is a little bit under-leveled, you know, with that Drunken Haze. But, you know, as we touched upon earlier, this Weaver, kind of regardless, should have a good time. You know, the only way I see him dying is burst to the Ice Blast, but Time Lapse a pretty good counter to Ice Blast, as it is just kind of an HP swap, much like Sunder. Doesn't really, or ignores for all intents and purposes the knock to healing by the chilling effect. So as I see already, 8 and we'll say 6 or so denies from lane, probably 12 or 13 cogs early on. For the Shadow Fiend to the 3-1 of King RD's Mirana. And certainly not ideal for paiN Gaming, but to some extent expected. As Leo Style has a ton of regen as well on his person mid lane. Matthew going to do a little trading with the Ogre Magi. Clockwork perhaps one of the few heroes that can kind of do so early on. And beginning to farm away his HFN. Under the tower he'll be just fine, it seems. Meanwhile, Fire Blast flying out from the low ground, probably just to kill off a creep, it seemed, by the Ogre. Take a look at the 1v1 bottom. Tavo has salved up here, and in fact, Benjaz doing pretty well. 10 CS to his name, so likely has been using some Shikuchi's farm, and of course, I missed first blood. Top lane. Now Matthew, with the Arctic Burn, maybe getting a return kill here on Duster. Masoku will find the right click with the Wyvern, but they do lose the Legion Commander early on. Battery Assault, though, still connecting on the Ogre, and now the body blocks from Masoku coming out. King Tekka rotating through should have an overwhelming odds, and we'll just choose to hold on to it for the moment. Actually takes a lot of damage, and in the mid lane, Leo Style getting a solo kill on Shadow Fiend. And an excellent start to the series for this caster. Misses 2 kills. Apologies for the T-Tours Twitch chat. But yeah, with that kill, this mid lane even more skew in the Dire's favor. 19 CS to the 12 of the Mirana, and a kill as well. Chilling Touch going to fly out. Cold Feet is there, and the Ignite going to fly. Cold Feet will be ran off. And King Tekka trying to trade here will get the extra move speed from the overwhelming odds, which will allow him to back. He'll get Cold Embraced up. Hold on to the salve for now. And Arctic Burn not available on the Wyvern. Meanwhile, mid lane, rotating through Brewmaster for Tavo. And a leap forward. Trying to arrow up Leo Style. It will connect. Thunderclap will be there as well with the double damage. Easy kill on the Shadow Fiend, who was very big at the moment. Tavo to pick up that bounty of 300 gold, TP his way back down to the bottom lane. Maybe more importantly, 156 experience for that tandem of heroes in the mid lane. And missing out of the top lane now is the Clockwork, who actually will run into Tavo here. But with the double damage rune still ticking away, Matthew's going to drop to the Brewmaster. Now top lane, King Tekka pressing forward, will find the Ogre Magi, will lose his life for it. Masoku trying to get Duster, won't be able to. And across the map, paiN Gaming, couple of nice kills for them. The Legion Commander in the top lane drops for the second time in the game. The Shadow Fiend in the mid. And the Clockwork as he rotates to bottom. So Tavo with a great start here on the Brewmaster. Now, it did leave some time for this Weaver to assume top position on CS with no Drunken Haze in the lane. But you got to say the way that the mid lane was playing out before that rotation was still a win in paiN's eyes for Tavo to get 2 kills, and one of them being the Shadow Fiend. So I missed a couple kills, but I grab a couple thereafter. Hopefully you guys can forgive me. And Benjaz underneath the tower here, going to drop that swarm down. Get a little bit of pressure with this 5-minute wave here and the siege creep. As top lane, Cold Embrace going to heal Matthew up. Fire Blast flies out onto King Tekka. He could be in trouble and maybe just drops here. He will to the right clicks. Duster could be in trouble. Return kill once again going to be found on this AA. But HFN just undeterred in this top lane will stick up. Has a waveform, presses forward, gets a second kill. Don't know if that first one was... Yeah, it was for the Morphling. Don't know why we didn't see the double kill graphic pop up there. But 2 for 1 in the top lane for Sacred side. And a big win as far as the metrics go. 300 net gold and 250 net experience going their way. Still, though, as far as net worth goes, you know, we do have the Weaver and SF trailing only the Morphling at the top of the charts. Rotation down to the bot lane once again from Matthew. We'll see if this one was a bit more successful, but he will find a vacant lane as it stands. And Tavo immediately into the split, going to try and find Leo Style here mid lane, level 7, but no Requiem. Can't really reduce the damage being done here. TP's inbound from Benjaz. Leo Style pretty tanky here with the Belt of Strength, and the double raise will finish off the Mirana. Tavo should finish the SF here shortly, and will. No Death Requiem, of course. He gets the Cyclone off, though, before... the split ends. Beautifully played by Tavo in this early game. You guys remember the SG Esports Tavo Sand King that we saw a few majors ago, and he is living up to his name here in this one. The Brewmaster finds the kill after his Mirana goes down, ends up 3-0-1 in this early game. Involved in 4 of his team's 8 kills. Top lane, a little deep behind enemy lines is Matthew. Duster pretty low, though, and Battery Assault Cogs will find the Ogre Magi. Matthew, though, taking a lot of damage. Press the attack, Cold Embrace, keeping him alive. Moonlight Shadow was popped off, and fading are the supports. But HFN is anything but fading as he continues to press, again finding Kinteka. And this aggressive tri-lane for paiN Gaming has dominated the early game. The other 2 lanes going pretty well for Sacred. At least early on. As Mirana still 2 levels behind Leo Style here. You saw that even when they got Leo Style for that second time in the mid lane, that the Mirana did end up dropping first. Arrow going to fly out, connect on a creep. Leo Style will be safe for now, but perhaps King RD is not. 2 leap charges available. 1 raise will fly. Leo Style hoping to take advantage of that Shadow Raise debuff. But Matthew unable to connect with the cogs. 2 TPs inbound bottom lane as King Tekka's finally rotated down. And now Tavo in towards the mid as they do see the clockwork. Cancelled TP by the Brewmaster, though. As Benjaz has made his way up to the top lane. King Tekka down towards bot. Tavo, he's got phase boots, bottle, and 1200 gold. Meanwhile, mid lane, Arrow is going to connect on top of the Fire Blast. Starstorm, both stars going to hit on Leo Style. He's trying to take the Ogre Magi with him, but cannot. And now into the Arctic Burn, needs 1 right click, will get it, and it should be the death of the Ogre Magi here, though. Great regen, though, for the Ogre is going to keep him alive, and they kill off the Wyvern, who tries to chase him down. OS Frog, Ogre Magi. They will connect with the arrow onto Matthew in his own cogs, and the immolation from the Fire Bruling doing so much work here. Tavo with the Thunderclap dominating 4-0-2 on the Brewmaster. Meanwhile, bot lane, King Tekka in trouble. Press the attack was there, though, and he does survive because of it. As chaos across the map in this grand final, we'll take our first kind of glance at net worth here. And the Dire side, it has started to go awry for them as Leo Style, you know, takes his 3rd spill of the game mid lane on the Shadow Fiend. Benjaz, one of the kind of the one silver lining in this early game, working on what seems to be a Dragon Lance at this point, and beginning to pressure this top tower. Bottom tower pretty healthy, as is the mid for the Radiant. Meanwhile, HFN, bottom lane being right-clicked into, but King Tekka, no ability to punish him really without the duel available. And Benjaz is just a shot away from this Dragonlance. Felt like Envy for a second, kind of clicking around the map there. Don't want to be too jarring. Now, Radiant Vision scouting a little bit of farming. We'll see if there's a move being made. It's still 50 seconds until this primal split, so seems like paiN are content to just kind of try and farm back up the cores until Tavo can continue to make plays for them, as he has throughout the game so far. 12-5 for paiN Gaming. It's a 1K net worth lead for their side. Top lane, Benjaz, feeling fairly confident. Level 10, has the Dragonlance, treads, Aquila. Has actually gone for the treads on the Weaver. We don't often see this pick up. But just allowing him to maybe fight a little more early on. When you get the early mana break, that extra attack speed can be very helpful. TP's inbound bottom lane from the Ogre Magi. And King Tekka has his Masoku Winter Wyvern behind him. Arctic Burn will fly out. Ice Blast, though, connects, and they'll blow up King Tekka once again. No Fire Blast there, no Adapt. Actually, Adaptive Strike. Maybe just skilled up by HFN. He couldn't get it off. But he is pretty deep into level 8. Maybe he was holding a skill point, you know, thinking that he might use the ultimate at some point. Interesting. Would have been nice to go back and see that interaction. But Masoku does survive. King Tekka, unfortunately, for Sacred's sake, does not. And he will take his 5th spill of the game on this Legion Commander. Again, Benjaz, you know, very good recognition of the siege wave timing. He's been under towers trying to pressure with both catapults thus far. And does get a pretty significant amount of damage done to this offlane tower. Looks like Matthews joined him. Hookshot at the ready. And Primal Split similarly ready here for Tavo on the Brew, as he'll join top lane. Matthew looking to find him. Instantly into the split goes the Brewmaster, and Cogs up from Matthew, but he'll be cycloned here. Duster, he's got the Vortex down and tries to throw out the Ice Blast. It will not connect onto the Clockwork, who is going to be just fine. And that's a Primal Split baited by Matthew. Major play on his part, as perhaps Tavo just expecting, you know, more help. And doesn't really get it. Now, Drunken Hate's going to be thrown out. Tavo going to go for the deny. Nice play by the Brewmasters to secure that. Meanwhile, bottom lane, again, King Tekka taken out for the 6th time in this game. He has more deaths than his team has kills. And the Sacred Captain really just not having an early game here. Much of a successful one, at least. Benjaz, on the flip side of things, is very farmed on the Weaver. Level 11 as well. Meanwhile, Ogre Magi could be in trouble here. Matthew does have the... Oh, does not have the hook shot, but should be able to get in range here. Cogs connect, but no detection between these two. Well, there is a dust, but looks like the Masoku Wyvern not willing to press uphill. It is nighttime for an Ogre Magi who is very tanky at this juncture in the game, and for that reason, extremely difficult to kill off. Radiant do perform a scan. Briefly will catch one of the Sacred Heroes, as they are now aware that Benjaz does have some support in tow behind him. Top lane, Leo style on top of Tavo, who does not have the Primal Split. And he will just opt to go for the raise combination here. Needs one more. Hookshot is there from Matthew. Third raise should connect if needed and will be there. Now the waveform forward, though. Leo style could be in trouble. Goes for the Requiem, gets it off. And the reduced damage from HFN. He can't kill him because of the Requiem. He was morphing strength. And Leo style gets it off. Ice Blast going to fly. Chilling effect does connect. And Leo style will shatter. And Duster drops down the Sori. But they do get the HFN kill and the Brewmaster kill for Tavo. And it's not much committed, just Matthew and Leo style top lane. Now they're looking to go in bottom, where the arrow does connect on the Weaver, but the Cold Embrace from Masoku is there. Masoku may just pay for his Weaver's salvation, and he will, as the Wyvern does end up going down. Benjaz, though, the more important hero, still going to survive, and he's going to think about going in on this Ancient Apparition who was, you know, rather squishy. We'll just throw a couple of glancing blows into him and make his way back to safety. And despite all of this early game death from King Tekka, he is only 250 gold or so away from his Blink Dagger 15 minutes in. So an admirable kind of recovery here. Tavo's got his Blink and has had it for a bit, but really is only 1,200 net worth ahead. And considering Tavo's 4-1-2... to the 1-6-1 King Tekka Legion Commander, this has to be, you know, pretty good for Sacred's side. They must feel okay with how things have, you know, played out, considering all the kills they've given up in this early game. HFN going to work on some Ancients here. Actually does take quite a bit of damage. He's got the Lincoln Sphere already here, 15 minutes in. And 800 gold in the pockets. Looks like he's going to work on the Boots of Travel beyond that. Not quite the split pushing menace Morphling once was, but perhaps just wanting to be able to contribute to team fights here. And, you know, he can always pick up the Weaver, like ult the Weaver, and use that to kind of split push if Benjaz shows, so... Weaver not incredible without his ultimate, but Shukuchi pretty damn good spell, as you ability trap players should be well aware of. HFN going to waveform forward and TP out top lane calmly. And King Tekka looking to go on mid lane. It is the Brewmaster they try to bring down with the Raze combo. They will do it, and King Tekka will probably die because of it. He ends up shattering. They use the Moonlight Shadow. Matthew, he's going to press forward into his death. But it does cost them the Tavo buyback, and it looks like Leo Style for now is safe. Jump forward though, Clap finds him. They'll dust him up and go into the Primal Split. TP's inbound from Benjaz, but he has no save for Leo Style here. As the Wyvern TP's in, Leo Style goes for the TP out. Boulder Toss will stop that, and they'll kill him off with the waveform. Benjaz, he's going to get dusted up, and he's out of mana on the Weaver. Does end up killing off the Ancient Apparition, will stick up and make it back to safety. But Tavo's buyback for now seems to be worth it for his side, as they'll get a couple of kills. HFN benefiting from that largely with a double kill on his side. And the team fight recap unfortunately does not capture the Brewmaster death and buyback, but you see what they do get on the backside of it. As net 900 experience and 300 gold going the way of paiN Gaming after the Leo Style buyback. So rather even metrics wise you want to consider at this point. I mean, it drops him down to be almost even with King Tekka. But they do get two nice kills off the back of it. Unfortunately though, they don't really get an objective. So, you know, it is an early buyback, and as you can see from the network, doesn't hurt too much. But they don't get an objective off of it. King Tekka finally gets a duel win with the reveal of his blink. And Primal Split will be down for the next little while, which means they can press forward for more with this Legion blink. Tavo does have the Matthew Clockwork behind him, although pretty impossible to kill off this Brewmaster, just the two of them. And King Tekka to be forced to overwhelming odds, try and make it out. Waveform though on the right click will find him. Matthew is just going to opt for the TP out. The Adaptive Strike, however, from HFN is going to keep him in place. And just a couple more right clicks, he will end up dropping. Double kill for the Morphling. Meanwhile, top lane, Diffusal Blade at the ready for Benjaz. He does not have any sort of detection on his person though. So Moonlight Shadow will keep King RD safe. And now Duster, mid lane, has a dust. And they're going to get the clap on the Leo Style. He will go for the TP out and succeed, it feels. Yes, he will this time. Ice Blast was available there for Duster, or maybe it just came off cooldown. I could be mistaken, but Leo Style survives because of it not being used. Who knows what happened there. Again, something to watch the replay for. But 22-9 for paiN Gaming is the score 19 minutes in. Really, though, only a 3K lead to show for it is not monumental by any stretch. It does, though, feel that paiN Gaming are in the driver's seat here. Really, Benjaz the only kind of unchecked issue from Sacred side. Dust will catch Benjaz, but he's too quick. He's got the treads as well, so, you know, may have been able to chase down the Weaver without the boots, but Shukuchi, and then, you know, the extra walk speed from the treads, he should be just fine. MRP, the only caster that'll say walk speed instead of move speed, boys. That was different. So things look to maybe be settling here for a moment, as we will see the Vlads being picked up by the Brewmaster for Tavo. Leo Style going to do a little farming in the jungle. He's picked up a Shadow Blade and the Yasha. Thus far, paiN Gaming have done an excellent job as far as detection goes, both against Benjaz and Leo Style. And can't quite say the same for Sacred against the Moonlight Shadow. It does feel like, you know, their kill attempts have been thwarted a couple of times because of this Moonlight Shadow. But as I say that, they'll drop down a sentry, try and facilitate a push in towards the mid lane. Leostyle gonna miss a raise because of the glyph. And HFN will clean up the Shadow Fiend illusions. Has the Yasha and the Boots of Travel, Morphling quite farmed at this point. And with the Bloodlust, that's only going to continue to grow exponentially. King RD into the Moonlight Shadow. Has lost most of his mana. Now Matthew comes through with the Dust and the hook shot. And all it takes is a little motivation from the caster and Sacred on their P's and Q's as far as detection goes. Meanwhile, though, King Tekka, he's bottom lane and knows his team just showed top. So wisely into the TP instantly and barely makes it out. Great timing from the Legion commander, the Sacred captain. These are the kinds of things you need to do in your pubs, boys and girls. That when your team shows on the other side of the map and you're in lane, feel threatened. So working on a Halberd for King Tekka. Pretty damn effective against the Morphling, who tends not to build BKB. Now King Tekka in trouble. He's going to get clapped up. Primal Split will be there as well. 1 second till blink, but the Boulder Toss catches him. Cold Feet likely to proc here as Press the Attack not available. And they'll even throw out the Ice Blast. Winter's Curse will connect onto a Bruling, but really nothing much else. As TP's inbound from Benjaz. They'll Cyclone up Leostyle's Shadow Fiend. Benjaz going to try and chase forward for the Ogre, who's going to go for the TPL. Cold Embrace up onto Leostyle, and the TP is successful. Dust going to fly. Benjaz a little bit low on mana, but he finishes off the Ancient Apparition. Now rotating in, though. Starstorm, Waveform, finish him off. Is Benjaz's Weaver. That's maybe the first time the Weaver has died this game. And Sacred, now Matthew gonna re-engage here. Gets the hook shot off, but maybe just feeds himself. And, you know, I was just beginning the breath to say maybe odd for Sacred to choose to defend King Tekka there. And they use one of their big team fight tools in a very defensive manner on the Winter's Curse. Doesn't get much done offensively. Leostyle's forced out. Benjaz finally dies. Yet first time in this game. And yet Matthew still hooks in and ends up dying. Leostyle now trading with the Ogre. He's going to just die here. As with authority, Duster blows up the Sacred mid laner. And now HFN stalking top lane. Waiting for the rotation in from his Mirana, King Tekka. Well, Moonlight Shadow. As they follow King Tekka. Moonlight Shadow to expire shortly. And Matthew is nearby. He'll press the attack first, though. Means he can't purge anything off here. Jump forward, Starstorm, Waveform. And again, the rhyming spells will finish off their target. As HFN they're looking to split their efforts here and chase down both these supports. Maelstrom procs up plenty coming through. HFN has the adaptive strike and finishes off the Wyvern. And what communication from these two paiN Gaming cores. Opening on the Legion, splitting for the remaining 2 targets. They'll get 3 kills unanswered in this bottom lane after bringing down Leostyle on the river. So in this mid game, paiN Gaming have just outmaneuvered, let's say. Maybe not out-executed, but outmaneuvered Sacred. And just have done more on the map. Just an excellent display of communication and resource usage. You know, never too much committed, it seems, from their side. Just the one buyback that, you know, did still net them a couple kills. Maybe not an objective, but... Speaking of objective, HFN, who is already a raid boss relative to his counterparts here, picks up a second life, has an Eagle Song in his inventory as well. And Sacred up on the high ground, looking to engage with a Winter's Curse maybe. As Arctic Burn expires, Masoku will stay up on the high ground, jump forward, trying to go for the duel, and King Tekka doesn't use it, but he uses the Halberd and ends up dying for it. Requiem through 5. Can Benjaz and Leostyle get enough done here? Manta's going to be popped, but the chilling effects out onto Leostyle. Death Requiem still does a lot of damage, though. Benjaz looking to fight and stand strong. HFN, he doesn't care. He's got Aegis here. as benjaz does get a triple kill on the Weaver. Now over on the east side with the Primal Split, they're working on Matthew. Blink, clap, split, adaptive strike, finishes off the clockwork. 4 dead. HFN still hanging around, is not going to be able to dodge the swarm, as benjaz still trying to work on the Aegis. HFN, yeah, remember when this hero used to require mana to morph? And no longer the case. 3200 HP for HFN here as he finishes off the tier 2. So overall, I mean, really nice for benjaz in that mid lane. As we take a look, it is a 4 for 3, and it's all benjaz with 1400 gold in that one. The metrics are pretty even. They don't get the Aegis though, so paiN Gaming can continue to press. They do get the tier 2 in the mid lane, so I can't quite say a loss for paiN Gaming, but that could have went a lot worse for Sacred. They didn't even use a Winter's Curse there, and still came out with a pretty darn decent trade. We mentioned at the draft screen how there's really not many answers for Weaver aside from bursting him in an Ice Blast. And, you know, without connecting on the Ice Blast, benjaz just has free reign in these fights. Lincoln Sphere, Diffusal, Dragonlance, Treads, Aquila is a very farmed Weaver. You know, only second to HFN's E-Blade wielding Morphling. As I catch my breath. 27 minutes in, 34-14 for paiN Gaming. Again, the lead rather innocuous as far as the metrics go, though, compared to the kill advantage. It is now a little bit more substantial than it has been all game, you know, nearing that 10k mark as far as experience goes, around the 7k mark as far as net worth, but still, it feels like Sacred are in this game. HFN taking some big right clicks. And bottom lane, King Tekka, perhaps is the opportunity he's waiting for, although the Morphling does still have Aegis for HFN, so still a hard kill. benjaz top lane going to show. Arrow going to fly blindly from King RD, trying to catch him on the tail end of the Shikuchi. Meanwhile, Winter's Curse going to catch one. That's going to be the Brewmaster, and on the south side, Duel will find the Ogre Magi. Over on the north, Primal Split trying to work on Matthew. Masoku nearby. Looks like they'll be able to deal with the Brewmaster, and Leo Style and benjaz finish off their second target. That's going to be the Ancient Apparition. Leo Style in trouble, going to Manta up as HFN joins. Adaptive Strike will finish the Shadow Fiend, and benjaz, knowing there's probably vision and detection in the area near that cliff, is going to end up backing out. Does end up being a 2 for 2, though. paiN Gaming does get Leo Style. And now the scan going to find King Tekka. Waveform up to the high ground. We'll find him with a few right clicks. Adaptive Strike. E-Blade is going to be there. And this is likely a dead King Tekka Legion. Indeed it is. As game 1 looking securely in paiN Gaming's hands at this moment in time. benjaz, though, still unchecked on this Weaver. He's level 23 alongside the Morphling. And working on a Mjolnir at this point. Could certainly have both the Legion Commander and Clockwork to throw that on. We saw the BKB from Tavo there as he got cursed up. And they will find benjaz into the Ice Blast, but an immediate time lapse away. Talked about time lapse being kind of a pseudo counter to Ice Blast, and you see it there from benjaz. Fire Blast will catch him though. Cold Feet is there as well, and a huge burst of damage from HFN. E-Blade Adaptive Strike finally shredding through benjaz. King RD top lane, Leo Style right on top of him. Jump forward, Duel will find him, and with a couple of raises, they will get a dual win. Looks like the third of the game for King Tekka, but perhaps a minor consolation prize as HFN, with Aegis in hand, gets to work. And bot lane, Tavo going to bring down the Wyvern. Buyback comes up from Masoku. benjaz does have a buyback available as well, but choosing for now to hold on to it. Now jump forward. Primal Split going to look to ensure the kill on this lane of Rax with the Demolish. Cyclone up into the air on the Wyvern. HFN going to get to work on the Rax. And it's going to be a free lane of Rax for paiN. And with Disciplined Minds, they will extract themselves from mid lane. And take a couple of kills and a lane of Rax just as swiftly as we can say it.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
And HFN is just a monster at this point, 21k net worth. And finally, we do see the gap between Benjaz and HFN widen here as they finally kill off the Weaver in that bottom lane. But things looking rather grim in this first game of the Grand Finals for Sacred. $4k gold on the Morphling as well. Gem picked up on Tavo in addition to the BKB. Even Duster can afford Force Staff Ghost Scepter at this point, and it seems like all of the Radiant are rich. Halberd just hasn't seemed to do all that much for King Tekka. He has kind of been the focus and been blown up early in a lot of these fights. A little bit of vision for the Radiant side. Should scout a couple of heroes as they'll just continue to shove these waves in and likely wait for the next Roshan to end this one. They'll take the Shrine out top lane. Bottom still standing and healthy, but probably not long for this world, as Duster will get down a set of wards on the cliff. Seems to be working on a Scotty, does HFN. Very typical kind of Morphling build-up. Did stop off for the Manta after the Lincolns, but makes a lot of sense against the Legion. You know, and jumps in for a duel, just kind of get that split second of confusion off. Okay, someone just died. It's a Wyvern. Dead. HFN now pressing for more. Gonna look for Leo style. They get the clap off. They don't even need the Ice Blast on this hero. And the moment they leave their base, Sacred punished severely. And luckily for them, they did shove the wave out rather deep. And Benjaz doing his part to get to work mid lane to shove the waves out. But top lane completely occupied by the paiN lineup, and they should have, you know, roughly 40 or 35 seconds left, even when Leo style goes down, to work on their second lane of racks. Benjaz will make his way back to base and picks up the Hyperstone. Jump forward, looking for the duel on HFN. They won't be able to get it off. Now the blink clap split, and GG is just called immediately, as they know without that duel, they have no shot at winning this fight. And Benjaz even going to get hit with the chilling effect. Game 1 of the Grand Final is going to go the way of paiN, guys. And just as much as they couldn't really deal with Weaver for Benjaz, Sacred had no answer to this HFN Morphling. Tavo with incredible plays early on to keep King RD relevant, to, you know, beat down as well the King Tekka Legion from top lane. And you know, when a lot of your initiation is relying on that Legion commander, and she has such a poor